I know. Another video bemoaning about how artists aren't making enough money and you need to start buying their songs and helping them survive in the market again, right? Wrong. You do need to start buying your music again, but it's for a far more selfish reason, and one I don't think people are pointing out. So here I am to shed light on the topic. What is that big reason? Your music is going away. And so are some other things, like your favorite films and things like that. Rodney, that's crazy. It's everywhere. I have 900 streaming services. I have Spotify. I have YouTube. I have all these things. Yeah, but things are going away. So, what do I mean by this? Well, let me tell you what finally spurred this video I'd been meaning to make for a while. A little bit ago, I went to see two great metal bands on the same bill, Overkill and Prong. Fantastic show, and Prong, who I've been a long-time fan of, played something, well, the title track off of an album called Power of the Damager. Loved the album, hadn't thought about it in a while, and the next day, being reminded of it, I wanted to go back and check it. So I pull out my handy-dandy Spotify, Prong, Power of the Damager. Not there. Why would it not be there? I can see their entire rest of their discography, a pretty big one. For some reason, that album is not there. There's no placeholder, there's no reason given, nothing. Now, for someone like myself who remembers the album and got reminded of it, I may go to, say, YouTube or go to my own files or things like that, but I'm someone who would hunt that stuff down. For people obsessed with convenience, which we'll touch on again here in a minute, they'll probably put it to the side, and because it's not on Spotify, they're just not going to bother to look for it again. So that album just starts to fade into the mist of time for them. Being reminded of it less and less, it just kind of goes away. For a new fan of the band, they go on Spotify because it's their one source or whatever streaming service they're doing, and that album isn't there, and they never knew it existed. So now for them, it's just a non-entity. It's kind of like the old adage where they said you don't have to burn books. You just remove them, and people eventually forget they ever existed. Now, I'm not talking about some grand censorship scheme or something like that, but what I am talking about is we've started to rely on these services and things so much that any changes that they make to our music or to our movies or things for us become permanent. That album is gone. Will it ever come back? Who knows? But if people don't even remember it existed, there's not going to be a lot of outcry for it to come back. And it's not just with this. I remember a little while ago that I went to check out the discography from a band from the 80s I really liked called The Fix. Huge band, had a ton of big hits. One of their biggest albums is not on there. Again, no explanation, no reason given. For older fans, especially of a legacy band, they're probably not going to be encouraged to go look that stuff up on other platforms, and then you have to go to another app. And again, because we're endlessly obsessed with convenience, we're just going to put it off till another time, and then eventually it just goes away. How often is this going to happen? How often, because of some business deal that couldn't be met or a licensing thing or some kind of crap like that, that our musical and artistic history slowly just gets curated to the point where only the most platinum selling corporate, exactly right into what's going to make people the most money and is being rammed down our throats on these platforms is all that exists anymore. Or, with the censorship tirades that seem to be going on anymore, how long until eventually something's just deemed problematic or a lyric that doesn't fit in our modern times or something like that, and then these things just get memory hold? Again, not making a big political statement, things like that. You could offend everybody anymore. But there's a real danger of this, and this stuff is happening too. So in our endless search for this type of convenience and to have everything at our hands in just faster and faster accessibility, we're losing our musical and artistic history. I can very quickly and easily see where this leads. When you have something like Spotify, which is a little business insider stuff, massively over leveraged, that they're going to have to constantly get more and more revenue in to make a platform like that sustainable. So, what does that mean? That means that they have to make the platform and what they put on it as financially expandable as possible. So, back in the day of listening to a lot of radio and things, when a single came out that went a little longer, you would usually get something called a radio edit. A radio edit was, say, you had a 7 minute song, they're like, nah, hey, you're taking up a little bit too much space. So they would hack the song down to a more commercial length format, and that's the one that would get played on the radio. And it was annoying, but because most people actually bought the music back then, they would consider it an annoyance, but then they could always go home and listen to the original, but they got the brief version. Do you really think that's not going to come back? As fewer and fewer people are willing to pay the increasing subscription prices to services like this, that the commercials aren't going to become more frequent, and then they look at your album and go, well, this guy's got like 9, 6, and 7 minute songs. We want more commercial space in there. We want like 2, 3.5 to 4 minute songs. We could be getting 2 commercial breaks in the time that it's getting 1 out of this guy's song. So it's time to demand an edit. So then they get the edit. But then the problem is, what if you never know about the original? They just stop labeling it, kind of like they don't tell you why these albums that I've been searching for are missing. Then you never know the full length ever existed, because again, you're not buying the original. So what copy of it do you have? You're relying on these services completely. I see that happening probably sooner than later. And this expands out into other things. You're seeing it in films as well now. I like the Harry Potter movies, mostly because I'm into cinematography and things like that, and they're beautifully shot. They have some amazing scenes and a lot of basically living fantasy art type of things. I like to put them on in the background sometimes. A streaming service that I have had them all on. They said, we've added the whole catalog and you can watch them right through. I'm like, great. I've got my visual wallpaper for the day and decided I wanted to stream them. And then I see a little notice that says that all of the movies have been cut down to fit a specific time block. Meaning they didn't cut it because they could make a deft little edit that you might not notice or could do something to keep the story moving fluidly. They just cut it and hacked it down and took enough minutes out until it fit, like I said with a radio edit, the portal that they wanted it to fit into. So now you've got a ripped up movie with probably plot points that are missing just so they can shove content into this little space. And that's what it really comes down to, is our art and our movies and our music are being turned into content. Not even product, content. Space fillers to hold your attention, and the original is going away. And if you think that's not going to have an effect, how long do you think it is if people keep putting out longer pieces of art or ones that don't fit in those patterns that people are going to bother to keep doing it? It's going to force the music industry and anybody who wants to get on streaming or anything else to gradually keep dumbing their art down until every song is 3 minutes and 33 seconds long. Every movie is 1 hour and 46 minutes running time. Everything's going to fit right in those things. And we're going to have just what most things are turning into, a lot of content and sterile garbage. And where you're going to feel the impact of this the most is on the music we talk about on this channel the most. Underground music, alternative types of music, music that doesn't fit these things. All the great bands of the past that we listen to, or even now, that, aren't platinum sellers, that the singer isn't going to be hawking beer or bubble gum or something like that. Great albums that we grew up listening to or being put out now that just don't fit that commercial strata and aren't going to get as many advertisers put on it. You need to start buying your music. My last point on this stuff is just that at what point, really and culturally, are we done with this? I mean, is it really a good thing? Are you really happy with everything just being virtual? with you can't touch anything. Your music's in the cloud. Your applications are in the cloud. Your programs are in the cloud. Your pictures are in the cloud. It's like we're slowly moving into this weird like dystopic thing. And I know I'm making a bit of a left turn here, but I think it's a valid point because if you don't want to buy the stuff because you genuinely just don't care about contributing to an artist or something, then think about your own selfishness. I mean, don't you want things that you actually own that you can touch and interact with? I don't know. I feel like something's getting lost there, and it's being lost on multiple fronts. It's not just that our convenience is costing us. I think a lot of this giving up of ownership is costing us in a lot of ways that we don't even see coming. It's leading to a lot of really bad cultural things. But the end point here being don't worry about the artist. That's not the argument here. Think about your own selfish butt. Do you want the stuff that you loved growing up and you still want to listen to, and do you want it to continue? Then buy it and keep a record that can't be altered, that can't be mutilated, that can't be censored, that can't be reimagined and re-edited and all this crap. If it actually means something to you, buy it, keep it, own it, and preserve it. In a very strange, decentralized way, we're becoming our own historians on a decentralized kind of way. We're the ones who are keeping art from being memory holed or altered or changed. And all it costs is a few bucks. You know you have it. You blow it on a lot of dumb stuff. I think our entire cultural and artistic history is worth it. And again, for me, I just like having the stuff in my hands. I like owning things. I like having things. So be selfish. Be consumptive. Whatever you want to call it. But get the stuff. Have the stuff. And those lesser known artists, you'll never lose track of. And the final point, let's face it, at the end of the day, everybody says, Spotify, I've accessed all this music. I have an SD card in this phone with more of my own music and playlists and everything else than I will ever be able to listen to. At some point, having the all-you-can-eat buffet is just crap. You're not going to eat it all. You just like the idea of it being there. You still keep going back to the same songs over and over again and things. So stop kidding yourself and start owning some stuff. My thoughts on it. You're welcome to fight me, but you know I'm right. I'll see you next time.